Hello and welcome back, everybody. That was the fastest 5 minutes I've ever had. Okay, all right. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. All right. So, um, what we're going to do is Arindam's going to give his presentation. After that, we have another quick video, and then we'll move on to Dan, and then we'll do a final Q&A. So now, Arindam, do you want to present?
Yes, thank you so much.
Perfect. Best of luck, Arindam. Thanks a million.
Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
We can, yeah.
I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I mean, Matthew and me, we discussed over LinkedIn that I'm supposed to present one of the associate level certifications, and I chose AZ104, which is the basic, and I think one of the most foundation of the whole Azure cloud adoption certification track. I have kept this. I've kept this whole discussion in a very funny way because AZ104 can be quite overwhelming, and I try to explain in a very funny way the whole AZ104 track and how you can achieve getting certified yourself as an Azure administrator associate. So before we go that, let me introduce myself. My name is Arindam Mitra. I am Microsoft Azure Solutions and DevOps Architect. I am based out in Switzerland. I'm there on LinkedIn. I'm there in GitHub. I blog in dev community. I have my speaker session in Session Nice. I specialize in infrastructure as a code and Azure DevOps. So I specialize in Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, Terraform, PowerShell. These are my core areas, and I blog typically around DevOps and Terraform and automation infrastructure as a code. And I put all my codes all in GitHub. I have just kept this PowerPoint just to introduce myself. And before I go, I just wanted to thank for the opportunity. And this is my email address and everything where you can reach out to me. And before I start, because we are running short of time and I just don't want to take much of a time, I just want to first thank to Matthew and Dan for providing the opportunity because this is my third time in Journey to the Cloud. I have been in 4.0, 5.0. Then I was in 6.0, an active participant where we were all supporting women in tech. And then this is a 7.0. Dan and Matthew has been very kind to invite me again as a speaker. Okay, so moving back to my presentation. So this is my GitHub where I normally keep all my codes and everything. This is all my repositories where you can see, you can find all my codes and you have the README files and everything. This is my speaker session in Sessionize, where you can find all the topics which I have already blogged in, and the codes are available in the GitHub as well. For this presentation, I have already created a blog for myself, and this I have dedicated to Journey to the Cloud. So as you can say that, the title itself says that AM and JTTC talks on MS Azure Associate Certification. AM is, of course, Arindam Mitra, myself. And JTTC is the abbreviation which I coined out for Journey to the Cloud. Okay. So this whole blog I have dedicated to Matthew Brown and Dan Ray's forum, where I'm speaking for the third time, as I mentioned. So let's begin. As you can see in the disclaimer that, you don't have to be a Spartan to conquer Azure. Azure is not that difficult. You just have to follow a certain track. For me, how it works is workflow. You just have to understand a service, what that service does, and you just have to create a very good workflow around that whole service to get yourself acquainted that, how it can be used in the real world scenario. So as you can see that, we are beginning. This certification basically is the logical step towards cloud adoption. So when we talk about cloud adoption, it means that we we as a infrastructure world or in the application world, everything runs around data center. And then when we say that cloud adoption, it means that you have to replicate the whole ecosystem which is there in the data center to any cloud. It can be Azure, it can be AWS, it can be GCP, anything. But that whole transition from the data center world to the cloud is actually adoption, cloud adoption. And in order for that cloud adoption to happen, the most important step or the first logical step is to build the base infrastructure. And AZ-104 is the logical first step towards building an infrastructure. And that is why it is so important, the certificate, that you have to make sure that you understand and you get certified before you actually start working on a project around cloud adoption. And as you can see in the meme which I have portrayed out here, this is where the problem begins, because when we start adopting cloud, when we start uh, transitioning from one ecosystem to another ecosystem, this is where you start landing up into problems. Training materials, yes, of course. The first logical step is MS Learn AZ-104. It's a wonderful track. Everything has been guided, and the modules are being created exactly for anybody to be successful and get certified in Azure Administrator Associate 104. There is also a link in the AZ-104 MS Learn website, where they have the official practice test offered. Cost you around about $100, 100 USD or something. But you can take those practice tests to make sure that you are ready before you take the actual examination. I found WizLabs another a good material apart from MS Learn and the official practice test. WizLab offers you also a course. It's a completely video oriented course. If somebody is not into reading the materials, there are a section of people. Somebody loves learning it from a video. Somebody loves learning it from reading. So this lab is something like where you can watch the videos on your own spare time, make your notes, and then at the end of all the things, the notes you have collected over seeing the video, there are like 5 tests available, right? Practice test, which is closest to the real-time examination, and that is how you get yourself ready. And how this is also one good thing I found it. Before you go for AZ-104, of course, you have to master the basics, and that is again the fundamentals. AZ-900. AZ-900 is again one of the good certifications, I would say, because it doesn't bring out the actual reality of how the services will be used, but at least it gives you an awareness that how the core services of Azure looks like or what it does. It's very important to understand the Azure core services in AZ-900 before you attempt for AZ-104. But again, it completely depends upon the candidate who is actually taking this examination. I have seen many people that who directly took AZ-104 rather than going for AZ-900 because they were mostly into this whole uh, uh, ecosystem earlier, and somehow they could manage without doing AZ-900. But it completely depends upon the candidate, where they are, and the nature of work, what they are doing. So if somebody has no knowledge in Azure Cloud, please feel free to complete AZ-900 first before jumping into AZ-104. Moving to this journey to the Azure Administrator Associate, there's also a link available in MS Learn. It exactly lands up into the page which I have taken the snapshot. For the purpose of this demo, I will just increase the font so that you guys can see it properly. So this is a very unique, I would say an OFE, one front end, where you have everything available out here. What are the skills outline guide, how the AZ-104 exam looks like, what is the prerequisites, and all possible information which you want. This is all like embedded in one dashboard or one front end. So this I find it really cool. Apart from this, topics to prepare, and again, there's a skill measured with each of the topics. So there are like 5 sections. One is the identity part, second is storage, third is compute, fourth is networking, and fifth is monitoring and backup. And each of these are like 15 to 20%. So it means that out of the whole 100 percentile examination, 15 to 20% is going to come. Questions are going to come on each of the topics, and this gives you a brief understanding that, okay, on which of the areas, you have to be very, very strong. As you can see that compute and networking, these are the two core areas of AZ-104, which constitutes the maximum percentile. And this is what I tried to explain at the beginning of my session, that when you are going for a cloud adoption, it means that you have to have the base infrastructure ready, which means that the Azure infrastructure world has to be very, very clear in your head, because if you're not able to build the infrastructure on the cloud, your application will not be able to build, because the application is going to sit on the top of the infrastructure. That is why this is one of the very, very primary certification for your cloud adoption. As you can see that, we mentioned about 5 topics, and I'll just take one topic at a time and try to explain in a short and sweet way, not overwhelming everybody that that it's super difficult, or but try to present it in a funny way. So the first thing is topic again, Azure Managed Identity. As you can see, the user is always perspiring, and of course, this was also one of the things which I encountered, when I started Azure almost like 4 years back. So you have like personal account, you have a work account, and then you get mixed up, what to use, what not to use, and this is where it's very important that you understand Azure Identities and governance. So this module basically, in during your time when you're investing for Azure AZ-104 certification, you're going to learn about Active Directory, you're going to learn about users and groups, subscription policies, RBACs. So these all are like, the core ingredients, which constitutes Azure Identities and governance. Moving to the next topic of the certification, that is implementing and manage storage. Yes, this is exactly how we store, and we are using storage in cloud. This is the picture which you see. We are just throwing out data in the cloud, and that is how exactly we are storing. That this is just a side note that this is not the way we are doing, but yeah. Again, just to make a fun out of the whole certification. Yeah, so in this one, we learn about storage accounts, blob storage, security around storage accounts, and Azure files, syncing the Azure files, storage tools. There are like 2 typical tools which you are going to use. One is the Storage Explorer, and the second is AZ Copy. So these are the 2 primary tools. One is GUI based, one is command line based. And then how you are going to access the storage in a controlled way using the access keys. There are 2 access keys. One is primary and another is secondary, and there is also a SAS token associated with the storage account, with which you can also access a storage account. SAS stands for Shared Access Signature. So that is how it is done. This is what we talk about controlled access to storage. As you can see in the meme again, that nobody cares about data security and everything. All they care about is what happens to the data when there is thunderstorm. So that is how we take and we make a fun out of the whole data over cloud. Moving to the third topic, yeah, deploying and managing Azure compute resources. Yeah, but nowadays you've been seeing a lot of news that the flights are getting delayed. There are a lot of queues in the airport. This is all because the takeoff and the landing is so difficult nowadays, because all the computes are actually floating in the cloud. There are app services, there are virtual machines. There are also, like, how is the pilot going to make their way above the cloud? So yeah, so this is again now another very, very good area where people should invest their time during the certification in configuring virtual machines. the concept around availability, extension, and Azure automation state and around virtual machines. This is a real, and these are heavily used in use cases, and I use in my real time. App services and app service plan is again one of the areas where, which is also part of the compute, container instance, and Kubernetes services. So these are the container platform. But again, even container instance and Azure Kubernetes is the container platform, but behind the scene, these are nothing but, these are virtual machine scale sets. So that is why they fall under the compute category. Moving to the topic 4, configuring and managing virtual network. Yeah, I mean, like over the weekends, if there is a salesman coming and asking you about, if they want to talk about Azure networking, feel free to talk about, because this is the most important uh, concept around infrastructure. Because if this you don't design properly or you don't understand properly, you cannot build a proper infrastructure in cloud. So don't shove away the sales guy. Let him speak and talk to him, I would say. So in this module, you're going to learn about designing IP address schema. This is the most important part, because you might be from your network, from your network team, you might be getting a chunk of IP addresses, but then you have to understand design and designing how, how much block of addresses you want to break in, or how many subnets you want to create, and then creating or configuring virtual network security group, Azure firewall, DNS, peering of the virtual networks, VPN gateway, express route, virtual WAN, network routing, application gateway, load balancers, everything you will learn in this module. You won't be learning in depth, but you will learning this much. I guarantee that you will be able to well deploy it in real world when it comes, when the time is right. And finally, moving to monitoring and backup. Yes, I have an entire team monitoring my Azure projects with binoculars. Trust me, they have all binoculars. I have a team full of people sitting with binoculars, because they are monitoring all my cloud. Yeah, this is not the right way of monitoring, but just making it again a little bit humorous. Yes, so monitoring and backup includes file and folder backups, virtual machine backups, Azure Monitor, Azure Alert, Log Analytics, Kushta Query, Network Watcher, and how the incident response with Azure Alerts. These all configurations you're going to learn in this section, which is one of the most important, because you have built the infrastructure. Now you have to manage and maintain that infrastructure, and this last module is exactly what they are going to teach. That okay, now the infrastructure is ready on cloud. Now what? Now you have to have the day-to-day ops team monitoring this whole thing. And monitoring is not like monitoring these services. Yes, of course, that is one of the part, but you have to also think about disaster recovery, and that is where the backup is coming. Because if you have proper backup, then even if there is a disaster, you can recover your backup, you can restore your backup and bring the system alive. That is the most important thing, and that is the last model, which is covered in the AZ-104. People ask, yeah, this is how I react when people ask. So I say, this is one answer. Just Google, just put AZ-104 in Google, and you don't even have to ask anybody. There's no, you don't have to ask any expert in the world, So if you just type AZ-104 on the Google search, you get this bunch of questions, which are really, really cool, because these are the automated question and answer which pops up, and you can see, and you can figure it out on yourself a lot. So this is what a snapshot I have taken. But the most important one I just pinned it, which is like how long does AZ-104 take? So normally it's a three-hour examination, and this was earlier AZ-103, which was later changed to AZ-104. How many questions? I mean, like, how many questions are there? 60 are there, and 120 minutes. And the certification is available. Does it have labs? I know it has labs, but this answer is not that relevant, in the Google search. And how many times you can take? Of course, you can take it like after every 24 hours, after the failed attempt. So this is all about AZ 104, or the best I could make in a funny way, so that you get information and you get somewhere to start on, but you also find it a little bit of humorous and interesting enough to see that when you're making a journey towards cloud or cloud adoption or any certification, it doesn't have to be super serious. You can make a fun out of it, and you can really learn how to do it. So this is all in my blog, and this is dedicated to Journey to the Cloud. I'm not a very person who is very good in making PowerPoint presentation. As I said, I'm mostly into Azure DevOps. I like writing code. I like publishing code. I like running the codes. I know Matthew knows it. Dan knows it. So that is why I thought that I'll put it in the blog so that it's available. It is also available in the GitHub repository. I've uploaded it. So this is the repo. So if you click on the repo out here, so here you can see that my introduction slide, which I used earlier, it is uploaded here. You have the PowerPoint presentation out here. And then if you go here, you have all the screenshots which I have used. It's also uploaded out here in case you want to use it in your slide later. I have my licenses, and I have the entire README out here. So whatever is published in the blog, the copy is also there in my GitHub, exact same copy. There's nothing changed out here. And here on the right hand side, you see that I have also linked it up my blog out here. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you have. But yeah, this is a very short and a precise way to show that you can have this AZ104 learning in one way.
Arindam, that was a fantastic presentation as well as usual. I'll be honest, every time you come on, I've never sat so straight on my seat because I just love the way you present it. Since day dot, you've always been like that. I have always been intrigued. I'm very clued into what you're saying and the back end kind of innuendos and the funny parts of it, and the pictures do represent a good example of people that give quick fire. Sales aren't important, don't listen to them, but they actually are. They're very important, because those people are the ones that are going to sell the solution, sell the time, and they're going to be the ones that make the money for the companies and the clients.
You asked me to make it funny, I did that. So
yeah, no, absolutely spot on. What you call it? Great stuff. I'm going to bring up a quick thing here. It's 4 slides. So I just want to point out, for anyone that doesn't know, Focus IT is the learning and development website that was created by myself and Frank Falvey. We've collaborated together over the last few months in designing and moving this website. This website is completely hosted on Azure. It's powered by It's powered by app services. So this is fully running on Azure. At the moment, we're still in the process of getting it right in terms of, I suppose, the timings and how long it takes to load pages. It's stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone covering the costs of this, so we're kind of at trial and error stages. So it's just interesting to see that we moved the website over to Azure. It's quite interesting, and the back end is fun. And I do hope to do a very special presentation on the back end of Azure App Services for people looking to kind of get a more associate/expert level introduction to Azure. This is my blog. You can find it on focusit.ie. Really interesting stuff. I have a lot of comments from people up there on it. Perfect. Okay. The MVP if you want to get to know your local MVPs, don't forget you can search them through the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional website. I obviously, before we move on to the final segment of our session, I do want to give a shout out to both, obviously, Frank Falvey and myself. We have a very nerve-wracking weekend coming up with the new MVP nominations being launched the first, 2nd, and 3rd of August. So it's been a journey for both me and Frank. We've enjoyed every second of it, and we'll continue to enjoy it. We do what we do because we love it, and we genuinely do. It's the people we meet, it's the communities we make, it's the new people we discover, and the talents we find online through LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So every single one of us here have made a difference in each other's lives, and that's, to me, what community